What's up, guys? My name is Andres. This is the VC Brewery Show. Today we talk with David from Pints and Pints Brewing in Thousand Oaks, California. They're located in the Thousand Oaks Mall, not in, but on the property. Interesting piece of information about this brewery. They opened a few days before the shutdown for the 2020 pandemic. So they've only been in business during the shutdown, and they've managed to keep their doors open, beer flowing, and people working at their facility. Kudos to them. I visited them a few times during the pandemic when I was working the night shift. I probably shouldn't say that, but so hey, I visited them, try to keep them going, support your local breweries any way you can. So enjoy the show. All right, here with David from Pints and Pints Brewing in Thousand Oaks, California, at the Thousand Oaks Mall. Good addition to the mall outside seating or food vendors. I don't know if you remember last year, Romancing the Beer Brewing Contest.
Yeah.
We were at the same table.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we were at the same table judging beers, and you were excited about your new brewery that was going to open up on St. Patrick's Day.
Yep.
And things changed since then.
Yeah, absolutely. We ended up, getting the stay-at-home orders 2 days before St. Patrick's Day. So,
Right.
Yeah, changed our plans quite a bit.
But so I came when you guys opened, after you guys got everything situated. You guys shoveled things around pretty quickly.
Yes, we did.
To get things up. So tell us, I guess, in a nutshell, I guess if you can fit it in a nutshell, what this past year's been like leading up to today.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been interesting trying to figure out how to build a system and a cycle to my brewing to maintain beer and not, and also not letting anything get too old. So that was probably the most interesting and difficult part was just figuring out scheduling. But now, things have started moving a lot better. So now I'm actually at a good groove, and I kind of know what I'm going to need to do to maintain here now. So.
And you guys implemented the cans right away, which is...
Yeah, so we had originally never planned to do any kind of packaging for to-go other than growlers. But then obviously with that, we had to make a pivot somehow so we could keep some money rolling in. So we set up canning with a local mobile canner called Boom Hut. They're local to Thousand Oaks. And then I was not set up for it. We actually have to do it right in the middle of the tasting room.
Right.
We have nowhere else to set it up.
I've seen the Instagrams, yeah.
But yeah, we make it work, and now we've done it 5 or 6 times.
Right. But I guess the good thing is you guys were new and weren't really set in any ways to begin with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely interesting because we're really not set up to deal with packaging like that.
Yeah.
But there's always ways to make anything work if you're motivated.
Yeah. And you guys here in the mall, high traffic area.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of off by yourselves here a little bit.
Yeah, so, during the shutdown, it definitely was tough getting people to know that we were here.
Right.
Because nobody was driving to the mall.
For sure.
But, once the mall got to open up slightly and everything started getting the outdoor, then we started getting a lot more foot traffic when people could see us because they were driving by. And then the Thursdays for the local farmers market that goes on right here in the parking lot, that always really helped, too, to draw in some new customers.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I've been in a few times, dinner, and I work down the street here in Lynn Ranch and at Teledyne at Lynn Ranch. So I've been for lunch, and I do enjoy that your board is not a typical board you see in a craft brewery. Well, at least the ones around here that I've frequented.
Yeah, it's pretty eclectic. We don't limit ourselves to any one or 2 styles. We try to. So I came from another brewery where we did a lot more traditional focused British beers, and then I started blending in some German stuff and some American stuff. So I came from a place where I was all over the board, and I wanted to maintain that because I think it's something that gets lost a little in the industry, and I think it's nice for the consumer as well as just brewers being able to see a big variety rather than just you have 15 IPAs. I mean, I get it. They sell.
Oh, yeah. I understand, yeah.
And a lot of the guys around here are doing a great job with them, so I understand. But for me, I love making lager, so that was a big thing for me, was making sure that I got to put up a couple really, really solid examples of lager.
Right. I think right now, so in the beginning, when you get into craft beer, you go on the IPA kick as a consumer or a drinker.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we have a lot of them. But recently, I've been going out of my way to find the pilsners, the lagers, the ales that people make.
Yeah.
So it's good to try the different types of beers that are out there.
Yeah.
Should people be intimidated by craft beer? Like you have someone from the mall come in,
Yeah.
right? They come in, they have a beer. It's something they know, just a different name, right?
Yeah, that's definitely something like the whole, one of our two main flagship beers is our single speed American light lager. Something I'm really passionate about making, mainly just because I feel like it's the most overlooked style in the craft industry, and yet it's the number one drink style in the world. So, there was a place for it in this market, and I think that it's the best way to get people out of their comfort zone, because I give them their comfort zone when they first walk in.
For sure.
And if they like it enough, you can usually get them to try something else.
Right.
And get them interested in some new stuff. So.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
So you came from a different brewery.
Yes.
So you, I don't know if you can, but you can't go on Indeed.com and find a head brewer job, right? What's the process? What's the process of getting in the door?
Yeah.
As a head brewer, if you're not the person, starting the restaurant.
It depends. The most common way is either a degree or working under somebody for a pretty long time and earning, that respect and the knowledge. And then usually still a lot of like the larger craft breweries are still going to they'll probably pay for it, but they're probably going to want you to go and get some sort of a certificate.
Yeah.
My route was much different. My route started as volunteering doing construction work at McLeod Ale, which was the first brewery I worked at. I did that for a little over a year. It was just kind of their handyman. And then I got eventually offered a gig washing kegs twice a week. Then that grew into 3 days a week as an assistant brewer. Then within 6 months of that, I was doing almost all of the brewing. And then the head brewer was more just running the planning, scheduling, and all that kind of stuff. And then he ended up leaving 7-8 months, less than that. I only worked under him as an assistant for maybe 8 or 9 months before he left.
Wow.
And I, at that time, had built a lot of respect with the owners in the sense of the quality of beer that I was able to produce, because I was still doing some home brewing and bringing in a lot of stuff I was making.
Okay, yeah.
So when he left, they just were like, hey, do you think you can do it? And I was very honest about the fact that I wasn't sure. I was like, I think so, but I haven't done this, so I couldn't say for sure. So that's kind of how I got in. It was a lot more accelerated and different than pretty much anybody else gets into.
Trial by fire.
Yeah,
for sure.
But it worked out. I ended up winning quite a few medals in my last year there.
Yeah.
Mostly for light lager.
Yeah.
But it was time for a change. Things were just going different there, and this was presented to me by an old friend.
So they just do they? I guess would you secretively go to your other brewery and taste your beers, or how do they know that you're the right fit for them?
You mean here?
Yeah.
Or,
so the process. So I've worked here.
Well, so it was more. I did bring in a bunch of my samples to Brad when I was introduced to him, but it actually just started because the guy that consulted for him, named Josiah Blomquist, he was the brewer before me at McLeod. So he trained me a bit, and then he watched me grow and progress.
Yeah.
So when he knew he wasn't going to be able to take the job full time like he thought, I was who he recommended. So
cool. So what type of crowd do you guys get at the brewery? So we're in a mall.
Yeah.
You have a lot of different people come in just to come to the mall.
Yeah.
And the Teal Mall, as far as malls go, it's a pretty big one, I guess.
Yeah. I'd say it's pretty mixed. We get a little bit of everybody. I think that the majority of our crowd is probably a little bit more the older crowd. I would say like 30s up, which is probably really good for the way that I make beer.
Yeah.
And because of the massive variety, I can, it's not everybody that's coming through the doors is really looking for IPA. Most of them are actually looking for something more like this Pilsner that we're drinking, or something a little bit more light and refreshing.
Okay. Yep.
So I think that's probably the majority of our crowd is that 30 to 50.
Right. So we're doing your Pilsner here. It's a new, relatively new beer.
Yeah, it's our Pain Pils. It's a traditional Bavarian style Pilsner. It's 100% German ingredients. It's just very simple. It's 3 ingredients total. It's about as simple as a beer can be.
Yeah, but it's good. It's
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
I'm more of a bitter palate.
Yeah.
So I mean,
This leans a little bit to that because it's it's one of the things I think it's lost with Pilsners, because American Pilsners are a lot less bitter than German ones.
Right.
In Germany, they're not really a big fan of, like IPAs and things like that. So this is kind of their equivalent. This is their bitter beer.
Right. Yeah, I can taste it's bitter, but it's not like doesn't stay on your palate or leave a bad taste in your mouth. Yeah, it's very clean.
It's still not very bitter. It's just that it's 4.7% alcohol.
Right.
And there's not a lot of sweetness from the malt because it's such a simple Pilsner malt that doesn't provide a ton of flavor.
Yeah.
Traditionally with the German style Pils, you're really supposed to be focusing on the grassy earthiness of the hop and then just the bitterness. That's supposed to be your main flavor profile, with maybe a hint of like a cracker biscuit coming from the Pilsner malt.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody that I've spoken to so far starts off as a home brewer,
Yes.
as a I guess apprenticeship under their own tutelage.
Yep.
Right. I'm not a home brewer. I started doing this because I like by default I like to go out and try different things, right? Small things. I mean, like unique places. So the craft beer scene is very unique in general.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So just from Ventura to Westlake, we have a lot of different craft breweries, right?
Yep.
If I was to start first time home brewer, what would your suggestions be now that you've been a home brewer and now you have a more professional setup?
Honestly, I think my main thing is to homebrewers is don't spend too much money. You can do a great job with very, very simple stuff. I feel like a lot of times people, if they're running into issues with their homebrewing or they're just not thinking it's good enough, they're in a rush to go buy fancy equipment.
Right.
It has very little to do with it.
Yeah.
It's so much more about the process than it is about what it's being made in.
Yeah.
I'm still, even the occasional times I do some homebrewing with my friend,
Yeah.
we're still doing it in most of the time in 5-gallon plastic buckets.
Okay,
I
yeah.
do have a nice little 15-gallon unitank, but I
Yeah.
don't use it very often.
Right.
It's overkill.
Right. So it's just get the basics down and
Exactly. I think probably the best piece of advice is start very simple. Start with very simple recipes with very, very few ingredients.
right,
and
like like a Pilsner.
Yeah, I think homebrewing, you'd probably want to start with something more like a blonde ale or a very, very simple pale ale. Something that doesn't have a whole lot of hop additions, doesn't have a lot of dry hop. There's something that's very, very simple and doesn't have a lot to hide behind.
Right.
So that you can really taste what's happening with your fermentation and learn that part, because that's the hardest thing to get down. Once
Yeah.
you can get clean fermentations, everything else just falls into place.
Right. And so I work in a clean room, R&D facility here down the road. So we do a lot of data taking, right?
Okay.
And process development. Tweak this, what changes?
Yeah.
Do you go through? I mean, you have big batches. I'm sure you can't
yeah.
do it. Do you still do that on your own?
I still do that on the full scale to an extent. That whole first year was a lot of that on all of our core recipes, really dialing them in and playing with them till I got them right. Most of the changes are going to be really subtle that most people might not even pick up.
Right.
They're more for...
But that's your job, right? Your job.
That's my job, is to detect the little things. And also, it's just trying to refine them for both process as well as maintaining the flavors that we're looking for.
Right.
To make sure that it's going to be easy to replicate and repeat.
Right.
While still being unique and, ours.
And you keep that in some sort of notebook or?
So really it's just all my brew sheets. Every time I make it, I
Yeah.
take notes throughout the process.
Right.
And I keep them all filed. So
Right.
it's more like go back and look at those. And then I have it
Yeah.
all on my computer. I have it all saved.
And do any of those come back and turn into some other beer at some point?
Not exactly. It's more it's more that the tweaks are so minor. It's
Right.
really it's just trying to refine the beer we've already made. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to take okay, this is good. How do we make it great?
Yeah.
It's a lot more of that. So it's a lot more nuanced little things like, all right, this worked, but let's change this one of the 2 dry hops, or let's
Yeah.
adjust my whirlpool time, or
Yeah.
adjust the temperature at which I'm adding my hops in the whirlpool. It's
Right.
more things like that to
Right.
change nuanced characters.
So what's your oldest beer on the board?
What do you mean as far as
As far as release, not
Okay, so release would be Lizard Rock, because Lizard Rock and Waves of Amber. Those were both in our first round.
So you've been open a year.
Yeah.
How many iterations have those been through?
So Lizard Rock is it's the 4th iteration, but I'm done messing with it.
Yeah.
So it's been the same now since I want to say June.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had it pretty much dialed in by June of last year.
Yeah.
And then Waves of Amber was the only one I never touched.
Wow.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then the Pale Rider was also one of our first. That is honestly almost a completely different beer than how it started.
Yeah.
It's got very similar character to it. Like, it's one of the things as you get good at brewing, you can completely change everything, but kind of make it taste the same.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one that had the most change. Like,
Yeah.
it shares nothing with its first round.
And do you take input from your customers, or is it solely what you?
I do
think should be
take. I'm always curious what customers have to say, and I listen. It doesn't always necessarily make it into the process.
Yeah.
It's more like I want to make sure the customers are happy.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Because there are more of them than there are you.
Absolutely.
So there'll be more opinions from them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But if all I did was listen to customers,
Yeah.
all I'd be making is IPA.
Yeah. Or you'd have like 50 different beers,
You know,
right? Of the
it
same
would
kind.
get a little
Yeah.
crazy. It
Yeah.
would just start to get a little convoluted, or
Yeah.
it would get boring for me because it would just be repeating all the same things all the time.
Yeah.
Which is something that I can't stand doing.
Yeah.
I'm the type that always needs to be creating and being creative and trying new things and experimenting.
Yeah.
So that's why we really only have 4 core beers, and we have like
Uh-huh.
6 that are rotational
Yeah.
total.
Yeah.
And then everything else is just always making something new.
Yeah.
Always trying to put out a new style, something new that I've made. And
Yeah.
like usually there are things like where I'm trying new techniques or new ingredients that I've never done before,
Right.
and just seeing what I get.
Yeah. So, like most craft breweries now in the area, you have a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you brew for the kitchen, or do they cook based on what you have on the board?
I would say it definitely goes a little bit more. They're cooking what's going to work with the beer, but at the same time, it's pretty simple since we started with pizza, which
Yeah.
pizza goes with everything.
Yeah.
But we're slowly as we're growing and adding new items, we're really trying to pair a little bit more.
Yeah.
We're planning to eventually start doing our own in-house barbecue
All right.
by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So that'll definitely work a lot better, I think, with like my love of lager.
Yeah.
Barbecue and lager are just
For sure.
a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I heard you were talking to Brad, right?
Yeah.
And you said you're expanding, I guess, bringing more of the outside in. Right?
Well, it's more that we're actually going to be because of COVID, we have built this big temporary outdoor patio.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be extending our fence for our small little outdoor patio all the way around that. We're going to be building that into a full permanent large patio.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure we maintain a large outdoor space. First of all, it's going to be nice just to have the extra seating, but it's also going to be great just coming out of COVID. There's still going to be a lot of people that aren't comfortable being inside.
Yeah.
And I totally respect that.
Yeah.
And so, we're trying to make sure we can be set up for everybody and that everybody can still feel they can come here and be safe and be comfortable.
Yeah, I was talking to John at Leashless, and he said he
Yeah.
experienced that.
Yeah.
He had people start off at the bar inside and say, we're gonna move back outside. Right?
Exactly,
So,
yeah. I think it's just, it's interesting times. Nobody's really sure what to think at this point, so.
Interesting is right? So is there anything that happened during this year, COVID restrictions, lockdown, whatever, that you found you can use going forward? I mean, the patio or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
any silver lining you can think of.
I mean, the silver lining was, getting into canning and kind of forcing me to expand more beer faster, mostly just because we had empty tanks and we just had the time, so I was able
Yeah.
to play a lot more with lager and play a lot more with things that you can't rush out that need more time in the tank. So hopefully I'm trying to build that into some of our mainstays, build some longer beer.
Right. Collaborations.
So far, we haven't done any. That COVID kind of killed that.
Yeah.
We had some set up, but then it just got really difficult with
Yeah.
everybody. Everybody had to pivot so hard and change
sure.
the way they were operating. We're working on getting some planned, but it's just right now I don't even have space. I've got to be focused on our stuff first.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully soon. But
Cool.
I know once Brittany, who you had on a while ago, once
Yeah.
Naughty Pine gets going, I'm sure her and I will do some stuff together. We're very good friends. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I'm sure. It'd be good to have woman-run.
Oh, it's gonna be
Right.
great. She's a phenomenal brewer. So
Yeah, well, yeah. For my research online and asking around my beer buddies, right? She has quite the pedigree, I guess you want to.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, cool. All right, so, COVID's over, sometime in the future, right? What happens with you guys? What are you planning?
I mean, just planning to planning to try to keep up and maintain.
Yeah.
Maintain a eclectic beer menu and
Right.
still not run out of our cores. And just, I mean, really, I think that's the main thing is just figuring out how, as people start coming back in, to maintain a solid lineup and keep
Yeah.
the consistency and the quality where it's at.
Cool. Okay, online, where can they find you guys?
We're on Instagram, Facebook.
Besides being in person, being the best place to
Yeah.
find you guys, right?
Yeah, besides being in person, I mean, I think that's the best way is that you can Google us. We'll pop up pretty quick.
Yeah. And I will say, my children love your pizza, right? The meat lovers is their. Yeah, they love that.
Yeah, the pizzas are pretty fantastic, and so are the chili dogs.
Yeah, I have not had. Well, for personal reasons, I have not had a chili
That's
dog.
fair.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Any parting words? Any last words you want to say?
Come enjoy some beer.
Drink some more beer.
Cheers.
All right. Cool. Thank you very much. Cool, boss. Thanks a lot. There you go, guys. Pedals and Pints Brewery, Thousand Oaks, California, inside the property of the Thousand Oaks Mall. Good place to visit. Leave someone shopping. You go visit the brewery. Everyone has a good time. Anyway, like and subscribe. Share this video. And I will talk to you guys next time.